Good morning, preteens, and welcome back to another Sunday lesson with me. I am so excited that you're here. I hope you've had a wonderful week back in school, back in kind of the grind of things after a week off for break and Thanksgiving. Today we are continuing our Advent series, Christmas Presents. And last week we talked about God's presence in the flesh and when Jesus was here and how that gives us hope, and hope was our first candle of Advent, and how it kind of all ties in together. And today we're continuing the theme of God's presence, and today we're talking about God's presence in the waiting, which can be really difficult sometimes. So for today we're reading a passage in Luke. Luke is the third book in the New Testament. It's our third gospel out of the four, and we're going to be in chapter 2, the second chapter of Luke. And it'll be verses 25 through 27. And I'm going to go ahead and read those, and then we'll talk about them. Now, there was a man in Jerusalem called Simeon, who was righteous and devout. He was waiting for the consolation of Israel, and the Holy Spirit was on him. It had been revealed to him by the Holy Spirit that he would not die before he had seen the Lord's Messiah. Moved by the Spirit, he went into the temple courts, where the parents brought in the child Jesus to do for him what the custom of the law required. So probably most of us have not heard of Simeon before. I don't even know if I had heard of Simeon really before this week. And Simeon obviously was maybe just a man. It doesn't really tell us right here, but he was a man of God and he was righteous, and he was chosen to bless Jesus. There were a lot of customs for the baby after the baby was born, for him to get blessed, or the baby to be blessed, or other customs that are sacred for the Jewish people in those times, and whatever the law required, like it says. But God came to Simeon and said, "You will see the Messiah. You will see my Messiah, who's going to come and save the world and be ruler of all these sorts of things, and you will not die before you see him." Isn't that such an odd message? I don't know. It's like, okay. And then Simeon probably waited and waited and waited. Who knows how long Simeon waited? Who knows if he was a young adult and then he had to wait 40 years? Who knows how long time passed? But I'm imagining at least years went by before Simeon ever saw Jesus, and he did see Jesus and he blessed him. But that time of waiting, you kind of get this message of, you will see the Messiah before you die. Peace. And that was kind of it. And I don't know, my imagination would be going wild of like, what would it be like? And not knowing that Jesus was going to come as a baby, and thinking maybe he'll be some big guy on a horse, with armor and buff and slaying people all over the place, slaying their enemies, and not really knowing what to expect, but trusting the process, trusting God's plan, trusting that God knows what he's doing. He's right. Like, I will see the Messiah. It's just, I don't know what that's going to look like, and kind of trusting God that is going to happen. And sometimes we may think, well, if I got a message from God himself, like him speaking to me, of course I would trust it, or like I would believe it without a doubt. But that's a lot easier said for us who have never experienced that. I think, sometimes we are like, what if he was already old? What if Simeon was already like in his 70s, or kind of getting older in life, in 80s, and he's like, God, I don't have much time left. How am I going to see this Messiah? It could have been that way too. And maybe there were factors that made it feel kind of hard to be true and hard to believe. But having that faith in God and trusting God in that period of waiting time is what Simeon held on to. And if we kind of shift that into our perspective or our life of trusting God in the process of waiting. That can be so, so difficult. It can be so hard to trust that things are going to work out in this period of time of just needing to be patient. I'll give this whole pandemic an example of there were months there where we were waiting for things to go back to normal, and we're still waiting for things to feel normal again, and that might take a long time, but there are shifts that we've made, things that we have done to sort of create a new normal and create a new way of doing things right now that seem kind of normal to us now. It's been so long that we've had to deal with this problem, and we've made steps to make it the best we can right now. And we're still in this period of waiting. We're still in this period of waiting for the sense of old normal, which we're not totally positive that will come to us, but we're waiting for something to feel like it used to. And right now in Advent, we are in this period of symbolizing the waiting of the birth of Jesus and waiting for Jesus to come and be with us. And in this story, we do see Jesus coming to Simeon, and he was already here, but in Advent right now, the symbol of waiting for the baby Messiah is what we're in right now. And there will be many, many moments in life where we're kind of waiting for a certain, maybe a specific outcome, a good outcome, and maybe that doesn't happen, but we're waiting for something to move, something to budge. Maybe it's when you're older and you're in school and you're waiting to go to college, or you're in middle school and you're waiting to go to high school, or all these certain different scenarios of times where we waiting for Christmas. It can be so hard to wait for Christmas, and waiting to see our family, and to open presents and to be together, and that can be hard sometimes. It's hard to be patient, and that is something when it's hard to be patient and it's hard to wait, we go to God in that. I think of Lent, which is the opposite of Advent right now. Lent is our time before Easter, and that is when sometimes we sacrifice something for that period of Lent. When we want that thing that we've given up, we go to God in that, and we remember why we're doing it. That reminds me of this waiting time, of waiting to have that thing again, and waiting to enjoy whatever we gave up again, because we knew it would be difficult. But there will be many times in our life where we are asked by God to wait, or we know we have to wait on something, and it'll be really hard. But what makes it easier, or at least a little bit easier on the mind, is going to God and trusting in his plan, trusting that he knows what's up. He knows that this waiting game is for the better, and everything will work out better if we just wait a little bit, and we wait a little bit longer. And maybe you're waiting for something right now. Maybe there's something that you're being really patient for, and you're just hoping and trusting that that thing will happen, even though you have to wait for it. And maybe you're just going through that right now, and know that God is with you in that waiting time. And you can go to him in that waiting time and say, God, this sucks. I hate waiting. I hate being patient. It's really hard. And that's okay. God will take that on. He will carry that load for you, and he will listen and know and be there in that time where it's miserable sometimes to wait. But many times it's worth it. It's worth the wait. It's worth the while of being patient, and maybe being in this cloud of not being sure what's going to happen. And that time that we waited for it was just everything working out. So if you're waiting for something right now, or if you're being patient on something maybe happening, just go to God in that and say, God, it's a struggle right now, and I just need to vent. I just need to get this out. And maybe sit there for a second and know that God is there saying, I know, and it's okay. I'm here with you, and it'll all work out for the better. So I hope that y'all have a wonderful week. I hope that you'll go to God in this waiting time. I also hope that y'all are reading your Advent Treasure booklet that we sent out for all your families. I've loved getting to read all of the different daily devotionals. It's been really awesome. I hope y'all have a wonderful week, and I will see y'all again next week. Bye.